The power of family traditions, what we carry, what we leave behind. Family traditions are the invisible architecture of our lives. They shape our values, guide our choices, and often silently define the boundaries of who we think we are. But as time passes and generations shift, those traditions don't always stay the same. Some we cling to, others we question. Some evolve, and others are left behind entirely. This is a story of that journey, a deep dive into how family traditions impact individual lives, why people sometimes choose to walk away from them, how generational differences reshape them, and how love, trauma, and legacy decide what survives. For some, family traditions are a source of inspiration, even a calling. Take Jeremy Ford, now a celebrity chef. His love for cooking was born not in culinary school, but in his grandmother's kitchen. A single visit, filled with the aromas of home-cooked meals and the warmth of shared moments, ignited his passion. That one tradition, Grandma's cooking, became the spark for a life devoted to food. Ford didn't just become a chef, he recreated that sense of familial connection in every dish he serves. In Honduras, a young Berta Cáceres grew up in the shadow of activism. Her mother, Ostra Bertha Flores Lopez, was a nurse who turned politician and frequently brought Berta along to political rallies. This exposure instilled in Berta the conviction to fight for indigenous rights and environmental justice. Her activism wasn't just a career, it was a family inheritance. And when she was murdered for her work, her daughters and mother carried on her mission. Activism, for them, was never optional. It was tradition. Even in quieter, less dramatic forms, family traditions can define identity. Susana Audi, a Brazilian-American teen, grew up baking Brazilian cheese bread and listening to samba with her father. Though she lives in New York, these rituals gave her a strong bicultural identity, infusing her American life with the rhythm and flavor of her heritage. These aren't just hobbies, they're soul markers. But not all traditions survive the journey across time. Some are too painful. Some no longer fit the lives we lead or the people we become. Sarah McCammon, an NPR journalist, grew up in an evangelical Christian household. But as she matured, she began questioning the doctrines she was raised with, particularly those that excluded LGBTQ people or clashed with scientific thinking. Her breaking point came when she witnessed her family's reaction to her gay grandfather. Eventually, Sarah left the church. The tradition that once gave her identity became something she outgrew. Dr. Saju Matthew, a medical analyst with CNN, faced a similar crossroads. Born into an Indian American family where arranged marriage was the norm, he was expected to follow suit. He even got engaged through his family's matchmaking system. But he broke it off because he was gay. In choosing to live authentically, he became the first in his family to walk away from a centuries-old tradition. For Saju, truth won over obligation. For Chef Deep Tran, the decision to abandon a tradition was rooted in pain. She once cherished making bánh chưng, rice cakes, with her Vietnamese grandmother during Lunar New Year. But as an adult, being the only openly queer person in her family made those gatherings emotionally exhausting. Eventually, she stopped attending. But Tran didn't let go of the tradition entirely. She reimagined it. She created a new ritual with chosen family and queer friends, honoring the holiday in a way that welcomed her whole self. And sometimes, tradition itself is harmful. Sarah Tinoy, a Maasai woman from Kenya, was circumcised at 13 as part of her community's coming-of-age ritual. The experience was excruciating, and the scars lasted far beyond the physical. As an adult, Sarah refused to let her daughters undergo the same trauma. She created an alternative rite of passage, one that maintained the symbolic meaning but replaced cutting with the pouring of milk on the thighs. By changing the tradition, she preserved its spirit while protecting her children. The gap between generations is where traditions either evolve or die. Dr. Saju Matthew's rejection of an arranged marriage wasn't just personal, it was generational. His parents and their peers saw arranged unions as essential. But he and many others in his generation are redefining marriage on their own terms. This shift is echoed in faith communities. Gen Z is leaving organized religion in record numbers, especially young women. Raised in churches with rigid gender roles, They're walking away in search of spiritual spaces that reflect modern values of equality and autonomy. What was once a non-negotiable Sunday ritual has become, for many, a relic of a bygone era. Even life milestones like weddings are being rewritten. Gen Z couples are ditching traditional wedding norms, bouquet tosses, matching bridesmaid dresses, and even the idea of having a large ceremony. One bride-to-be planned her entire wedding via TikTok and explicitly avoided anything resembling her mother's rustic-themed nuptials. The trend? Personalization over protocol. In immigrant families, the generational rift is more nuanced. Grandparents often try to pass down old country customs, language, food, holiday rituals, while younger generations, growing up in different cultures, blend or leave them behind. The result is often a hybrid identity, where parts of the past are retained but reshaped for modern life. Ultimately, whether a tradition survives often comes down to relationships. Berta Cáceres' daughters continue her activism not out of obligation, but out of love. Their bond with her, and with her ideals, makes her mission feel like a family duty. It's activism as legacy, passed down not just by blood, but by belief. The Lincoln Feline family, once retail magnates, passed down a different kind of legacy, philanthropy. Today, their descendants, generations removed from the original founder, still sit on the family foundation board, committed to civic education and public service. The tradition endured because it was grounded in values that resonated through time. In native Alaskan communities, traditions forcibly erased by colonial systems are being reclaimed. Young leaders like Sam Schimmel are reviving native languages, foods, and ceremonies as a form of healing. For Sam, practicing these traditions isn't nostalgia, it's survival. It's reclaiming what assimilation tried to take. His bond with elders becomes the bridge that connects past pain to future strength. Yet legacy can also push someone to pivot. Charles Demire, heir to a Southern oil fortune, saw how his father's relentless pursuit of wealth cost him his health and peace. Instead of expanding the empire, Charles became an Episcopal priest and redirected his inheritance into a charitable foundation. For him, honoring his family meant choosing a different path. Family traditions are never just habits or rituals. They're vessels of identity, belief, and emotion. But not all of them survive. And maybe that's okay. Some are outdated. Some are harmful. Some just don't fit the people we become. But others? Others evolve. They are reimagined by the next generation. They bend without breaking. They keep the essence while shedding the parts that no longer serve. So the real question isn't whether we should keep our family traditions. It's what will we keep, what will we change, and what will we lovingly lay to rest? Because in the end, what we carry forward and what we choose to leave behind says everything about who we are and who we want to be.